This is question time for POLI 120 State and Local Government, Bucks County Community College. It's February 16th, 2010, Tuesday, and I wanted to respond to some of the questions you folks have sent to me in the last week since the last question time broadcast, if you will. There have been some questions about the assignments that are due, and tomorrow, the 17th, you have the critique due on the Oregon Trail. If you click on the calendar, it'll take you to the assignment Dropbox, and you can leave it there as an attachment. And it follows the same format as the first critique that we did. On Friday, you have a quiz on Chapter 5. And also, by the end of the day on Friday, you should have made all of your contributions to the discussion on the article. By the way, that discussion that we had the first time around was exceptionally well done by most of you, and I'm really proud of the work that I saw there, and hope you keep up the good work this week on that. There was a question about the upcoming PowerPoint. Don't worry, you don't have to create a PowerPoint. All you have to do is watch one that I have for you, and you have to get back to me with a list of things that are in that PowerPoint that you do not find in the DI textbook. So. And that's down the road in the future, and that will be available on the day before and the day of its due date. So, just be patient, wait for that, and it's just to make sure that you're paying attention to the PowerPoint and that you also know what's in the textbook as well. So look for that really soon. David Litz wanted to know how close we are to voting by email in a presidential election electronically, and I think we're pretty far away, and I don't know if it's ever going to happen because of the issues of security. There was an election in Mexico, and don't laugh because I think actually Mexico now has a good system, in some ways better than ours, where in Mexico the computers mysteriously all broke down at the same time, and when they came back on, the tally for the vote was reversed. It was obviously government shutdown. Electricity even went off all over the country, and then when it came back on, all the data was switched around. It's just so many things that can go wrong with voting electronically. But as you read the article on the Oregon Trail, you'll see that snail mail has potential as a way to replace going to the polling place physically and instead voting by absentee ballot. I'm interested in your comments in the discussion page about that, and if you think that that is a viable alternative. There was another question also about whether, this is from Douglas Johnson, and he was wondering if voting in 2012 will be easier than in 2010. I don't know, Doug, if you voted in 2010, I'd be interested to know what you thought might be difficult about it. The Help America Vote Act has really brought down standardized procedures that they want all the states and counties around the nation to adopt, and the technology is being worked out and uniformity is being worked in more and more all the time. So I think in those regards, voting will be easier in 2012 than in 2010. Jamie Bates had a question about the fact that the last quiz she took, there was, and some of the other people had this question, there was a concern about I don't know how much time is left. Well, that's because there was no limit on the first couple quizzes. But as we move forward, you'll see that there are time limits. Watch it, and you should see that there is a running time there available for you to check. The times aren't going to be limited as we work towards being able to answer the required number of questions quickly enough to do well. Not really just sitting down and researching, but actually knowing the answers and being able to respond more quickly, because that's the way the midterm exam is going to be. So we're trying to practice and work towards that. So there will be time limits. Shelley Kugel was concerned about the fact that in a lot of states people can give gifts to legislators, and that's not considered illegal. And she's concerned about that being actually a bribe. Well, I'm concerned about that too, and I think it probably is, as you think, a bribe. And I hope that that gets tightened up in the future. Yeah, there's some things about our system that are just amazing that they still go on. Megan Nahill wanted to know what racial gerrymandering was, and actually she went on to pretty well define it. She wanted to know if her definition was correct, and you are correct. Basically, state legislators draw the legislative boundaries for the state legislatures and also for the national Congress. And when they draw those lines, they try to draw them to accomplish certain election results. Number one, they like to have the incumbent reelected. That's an important thing to them. Also, sometimes they want to either get a certain racial, ethnic, religious, whatever group in office, or conversely, to keep them out of office. Packing a district with a lot of people, for example, let's say many African Americans, would get you into a situation where that you'd have a black representative elected, but then maybe only in that district and not in the others. On the other hand, if you took a town that was made up of African Americans or Native Americans or whatever, and you split it into 5 different districts, and split those people up into different areas for votes, then maybe no African American or no Native American be elected. So that's called racial gerrymandering, where the main reason is to just try to have a racial result in the elections. And Dawn Garris wanted to know if it's okay for Congress to keep passing federal laws for crimes. I think there's 2 things here. First of all, a criminal offense like murder or bank robbery, I think we'd all agree it's good to catch the bad guys. And if you have state laws and federal laws, then you can a person can be arrested by both the state and the federal government. If one trial doesn't work out well, you can be tried in the other jurisdiction, and it's not a violation of double jeopardy. So to me, it's a nice way to keep the bad folks under control. I think a lot of us would agree that the national government can overdo it by passing federal laws and making the states change their policies because of those laws. Like, for example, education reform and so forth. Sometimes federal laws about education that make crimes out of doing something or not doing something else, that could be perceived as taking over education. I don't think that's happened yet, but it could, and I wouldn't like to see. I mean, most of us would agree that states need some priorities, and that the national government should not be too powerful. So it's a question of moderation. I hope that's answered some of your questions. And one final thing, on the face-to-face meetings that I'm arranging, I'm still getting answers from people about when they can meet with me, either in Newtown or Upper Bucks, and what dates and times are the best for them. And after I get those, I'll be making up a blog discussion segment where, first come, first served, you can tell me what time you would like to have, first come, first served. So look for that in the next couple of days. Have a good week. Hopefully we'll not have any more snow. That would be a good thing. And just send me your questions and comments through email or in the discussion blog, and I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you very much, and have a good week.